here at the Antigua Forum with Arpita Nepal. And Arpita, you have a fascinating story as a pioneer of free market reform in Nepal. Can you tell me about how you got involved in that?
Well, kind of a long story, but to really briefly summarize it, I was always, I think, pretty much a rebel in the family, as in believed in my individual rights. So got into trouble a lot of time with my parents. And then suddenly I came across Hayek and von Mises, and it was as if, while reading them, I thought, like, this is what I've been saying all my life. So that's how I got involved in the movement.
What are the biggest challenges you've faced trying to implement free market reform in Nepal?
So on many levels. One, the idea of free market reforms is not very palatable to the crowd in South Asia. There's a genuine fear, and I also understand the fear because the first set of liberalization that actually happened all across South Asia wasn't very successful because it wasn't done in the, sort of a manner that would be helpful to all people, all the citizens. So it only helped certain elite crowd who already had access to a lot of opportunities. And so that gave sort of a bad reputation to free market reforms specifically in Nepal, the liberalization of the 1990s. And I think that's the reason why people are very skeptic when you talk about free market reforms. But I think as you engage in a dialogue with opposition and you talk to more and more people and try and help them understand like how free market reforms work, I think we're gaining a lot of favor over a period of time.
Have you had any personal challenges in this, considering sort of that the political climate then is not very favorable, perhaps, in Nepal to free market reform?
So, of course, typically there are personal challenges when you work in a very difficult environment. Sometimes it's not just a personal challenge for myself, but my whole team, which I'm responsible for because they work with me. And so, yes, the challenges are quite great. And for a long period of time, when there was a very strong opposition to our ideas and the work that we were doing, we sort of formulated an exit strategy from Nepal on, how to get our team safely outside, because that's very important to us. But over a period of time, like I said, because we've continuously engaged in dialogue, I think people are very favorable now to the work that we're doing. So I think we've overcome the challenges.
You developed a report as well for the government with several recommendations that they later implemented. How did you manage to do that, considering the challenges that you faced?
So it's been a long, tough journey of trying to get ourselves established as a serious policy research institute. I think what worked in our favor is we worked directly with our closest allies, so people who would be pro-market. And these were small pockets of people. So we worked with the Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry to actually produce this report. That means it gained a larger sort of traction with the public as well as with the government, because it was not just this one independent institute talking about it, but it was a large section of a very influential population talking about it. So I think that's how the government sort of, were ready to listen to us or engage with us. And we worked on, especially around the Nepal Economic Summit, where we partnered with the government of Nepal, the Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and we worked on with three specific ministries to develop these set of recommendations, which were in fact then adopted by the government in the form of a declaration. I wouldn't go as far as to say that they all have been implemented. So on the political level, there's been a large consensus. And I think right now our biggest challenge is having the bureaucracy implement the reforms. So that's what we're working on right now.
And speaking of the bureaucracy, you told an interesting story earlier today at the event about how the bureaucracy in Nepal works. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so traditionally, our bureaucracy is structured around very much, it's sort of a British legacy, although we were never a British colony. So there is this very, very rigid hierarchical structure where, naturally, I think the system makes everybody who enters the bureaucracy think that they have all the solutions to all the problems in the world, which makes them sort of a closed group. Not very open to new ideas. And, this is a generalization, of course. There are reform champions within the bureaucracy who would like to work in reforming the system and have been doing so for quite some time in Nepal. So what we did what is a challenge right now is sort of some parts of the bureaucracy effectively holding the country's development process as a hostage, in the sense that they will simply not move forward with the reforms. Why? Because it takes away their arbitrary powers. It takes away their powers to, seek rents. It takes away their powers to allocate budgets in different directions. So it's not a very easy process for people to say, let go of your power and let people be free. So I think that's the biggest challenge right now.
You also do a lot of work with young people in Nepal.
Mm-hmm.
How can you educate them on these issues, do you think?
So we've devised several programs, especially targeting young people. One of our more successful models is called Arthalaya. It basically means School of Economics. So we call it School of Economics and Entrepreneurship. The way the model functions is we select participants from graduate and undergraduate courses, and they come to this 5-day residential camps where we discuss all these policy ideas, how policies affect business, but on the background, they're actually running a business for the 5 days. So they become entrepreneurs for the 5 days that they're there. So while, listening to lectures is one way of, sort of communicating, but what we found was it's more effective when they're actually experiencing the economy. And then we introduce, on one day, we introduce progressive taxation. On another day, we introduce perhaps like an entertainment tax or an alcohol tax. So something like that very much reflects the economy and government policies from the economy. And then they truly feel the pain that entrepreneurs go through with government policies. So that sort of helped them realize on how policies affect businesses and entrepreneurs in general. So I think that's been very effective. Other forms of student programs as well. So we use a lot of new media, social media as well. We recently did this very exciting competition called Expressing Ideas for a Free Society, where we asked young students to express the ideas of 5 liberal thinkers in any form of sort of creative expressions that they wanted. So the winner was a young person who's a student of economics, and he wrote a pop song on Adam Smith and the Invisible Hand. It's actually on YouTube, and you can just see it. It's in English. There are different ways of reaching out to young students, and we try to be as innovative as possible in that.
And one of the reasons you came to Antigua Forum and got a workstation here is because you want to get new ideas for how to educate young people. What insights have you gained from your workstation today on the first day?
Well, like I said, it's been sort of an overwhelming experience. The whole reason I came to Antigua Forum is because I've heard so much about it from earlier participants on how productive it has been for them. And that is what brought me here. I was really excited and looking forward to the forum. So I think the first day sort of showed me how, how incredible it can be in terms of the ideas that I got. So the project that I'm working on is largely on how do you actually make bureaucracy more reform-minded. And with that project, what I've, all the ideas that came about today, some of the things were, I had never thought about it. You never think because you're always living inside the problem. So you're looking at the problem from inside the box. This, I think, forum makes you think outside the box because there's so many different perspectives. So I think by the end of the first day, I know I have like a ton of brilliant ideas. All I need to do is like sort of sit down and strategize on how we could actually borrow some of these ideas and make it work in Nepal.
And final question I want to ask is, how do you see the future of liberty in Nepal?
Oh, I'm very much an optimist in that sense, or else I wouldn't be living and working in Nepal. I see that there are very much positive changes despite overwhelming odds against, promoting liberty in Nepal. But at the end of the day, I think it's a human desire to be free. And so I think historical evidence, as well as this, human desire works in our favor anywhere in the world. So the fight for freedom is very, very difficult in some areas, for example, in Nepal as well. But I think in the long run, I think we'll make good progress. So I do see a lot of potential.
Thank you very much, Arpita.
Thank you so much.